Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm a psychiatric residential treatment specialist, and in my role, the ethical landscape is often complex as the patients and systems I navigate. This video journal is a personal reflection on the ethical concepts we've explored throughout the course and how they apply to my field and how they have shaped the way I make decisions in high-stake environments. Let's begin by summarizing the key ethical concepts from each week that hold the greatest promise in guiding my future decisions. So in week 1, we talked about choosing the difference between right and right. This idea hit home for me because in the psychiatric care, especially in the politically sensitive environments, ethical dilemmas often aren't about right versus wrong, but right versus right. For example, do I protect a patient's confidentiality or do I disclose something that could impact institutional safety? Both are valid and both are ethical. Recognizing these as moral dilemmas helps me slow down, examine underlying values, and identify which principle better serves the long-term ethical integrity of my role. This understanding brings clarity to complex decisions and encourages thoughtful reflection rather than an impulsive action. This leads me into week number 2, which was the concept of organizational ethics. In my field, I work within a tightly governed institution here at Belfair. Individual ethics must be integrated with organizational values. If the institution tolerates unethical shortcuts or fosters a culture of silence, even well-meaning individuals may falter. Learning about organizational ethics reminded me that ethical behavior must be embedded in culture, leadership, and systems. It's not about just individual accountability, it's about building ethical infrastructures. For me, this means advocating for policies that protect whistleblowers and support ongoing ethics training within our multidisciplinary teams. After that, we moved into week 3. That was the design of management of the ethical organizations. This week expanded on how ethics can be deliberately built into an organization's design. Structures and incentives matter when systems reward compliance over integrity, and then that means the ethics do suffer. But when policies reinforce transparency, equity, and honest feedback, ethical behavior becomes part of the routine. In my role, I can support this by mentoring new clients, participating in ethics committees, and ensuring our treatment plans respect patient dignity and consent. The design of an ethical organization doesn't just support the people in it, it protects the mission of care itself. After week 3, we moved into week 4, which was the internal dynamics of business, the public domain. This topic focused on the tension between what happens behind closed doors and what public sees. In a residential treatment setting, there's constant pressure to manage reputation, maintain confidentiality, while being accountable to the public and stakeholders. For instance, when a high-profile patient receives treatment, decisions about public disclosure, media statements, and internal documentation must be navigated carefully. Week 4 really taught me to balance discretion with transparency and to consider the ethical implications not only within the institution, but in the broader societal context. After that was week 5, which was the ethical decision-making and the prevention of corporate doublespeak and disinformation. This was particularly powerful to me in healthcare and within the facility. Language can obscure the truth. Phrases like non-compliant, patient, or behavioral intervention can mask coercion or mistreatment. Learning about doublespeak reminded me that clarity and honesty and communication are ethical imperatives. As someone who contributes to reports, briefings, and internal documentation, I have a responsibility to call things what they are. Ethical speech means refusing to sanitize harm and ensuring that our language reflects reality. This promotes trust with patients, teams, and the public. Leading into week 6 is giving the voice to values. Mary Gentile's framework was a game changer for me, especially. Instead of asking what is right, it asks, how do I effectively act on what I know is right? In psychiatric settings, speaking up is actually something very hard to do. There are chains of command, risks of retaliation, and fear of undermining authority, but Gentile's method teaches us to script our responses, anticipate pushback, and build coalitions of support. If I witness something unethical, like a patient being restrained inappropriately, I now have a process for raising the concern effectively with moral clarity and professional tact. Week 7, business ethics and corporate responsibility. This week helped me zoom out. Beyond individual patients and internal practices, our institution has a responsibility to the public. Business ethics means not just following rules, but doing what is right for the community. For me, this translates to advocating for equitable access to mental health services, participating in public education about psychiatric issues, and ensuring our actions reflect our stated mission of care and dignity. Corporate social responsibility isn't an abstract principle, it's supposed to be a daily practice. This leads me into part 2 of the assignment, which was giving voice to values and Kidder's ethical dilemma categories. So let's now connect Mary Gentile's approach with the Rushworth-Kidler's categories of ethical dilemmas. 2 of his categories stood out to me were the ones about truth and loyalty and short-term versus long-term. So to go over truth and loyalty, this dilemma arises when I'm asked to shield a colleague from accountability for the sake of the team unity and the professional loyalty. Suppose a coworker downplays the severity of a patient's condition in a report. Do I correct it and risk tension, or stay silent out of loyalty? According to Gentile's method, I would prepare a response like, I value our team, and your expertise, but accuracy in our reports is critical to patient safety and institutional trust. Let's address this honestly so we all stay protected. By preparing in advance and aligning with the institutional values, I can speak truth without alienating any of my colleagues. Second was short-term versus long-term. Short-term decisions often appeal to efficiency, for instance, forcibility. Medicating a patient may resolve a crisis quickly, but it can undermine long-term therapeutic rapport. Gentile teaches us to reframe arguments. While immediate sedation improves short-term calm, it risks patient trust and could hinder their recovery. This perspective helps others see beyond the urgency of the moment by articulating the long-term impact. I can advocate for better practices even when short-term solutions seem more convenient. Part 3 of this was the personal and ethical practices. Beyond the framework and categories, I rely on a few core practices to stay ethically grounded. Number 1 is the reflective practice. I journal or debrief tough cases with trusted mentors. This helps me refine judgment and stay honest with myself. 2 is the consultation. No one should make tough ethical calls alone. I routinely seek input from colleagues, supervisors, and legal or ethical advisors if I have the ability to get in touch with them. Professional boundaries. Boundaries are crucial in the psychiatric area. They prevent ethical violations and keep both patients and staff safe, and that's at the utmost importance when everybody's dealing with a high behavioral client. 4 is transparent communication. I try to communicate clearly and openly, especially when decisions may be misunderstood. Transparency builds trust. Purpose orientation. When decisions get cloudy, I return to the question, what promotes dignity, healing, and justice? That question anchors me every day. Courage. Ultimately, ethics require bravery. It means sometimes being the one who asks the uncomfortable question or takes the unpopular stance, which in my field is often something you're going to have to do in order to keep the team and the patient the safest they can be. And in closing, ethics is not just about avoiding the wrongdoing. It's about doing the right thing even when it's inconvenient, unpopular, or unclear. As a psychiatric residential treatment specialist, I work in a world where decisions carry enormous weight. The ethical tools we explored in this course give me not only the clarity, but the confidence to act with integrity, to lead with humility, and to advocate with a purpose. I'd really like to thank you for listening to this reflection. I hope it has sparked some ideas for how you too can live and lead an ethically good life, especially in moments that matter the most. It was really nice having you as a professor, and I really appreciate all the time you put into the course. Thank you.